the information is flowing, your ideas are flowing to you, all of a sudden, bang, you're on the right channel. Am I making sense to anyone? Yeah. So it's critical we go about putting ourselves in an environment that supports that. And that comes down to a lot of areas. If you have physical health issues, is that going to affect your psychology, yes or no? It will. If you're in pain or irritable, if I ever know I'm getting cranky or irritable, I'll ring my chiropractor. I'll get adjustment because I know there's probably something out, the cranky bone's out, okay? You know how many people could change their life just by having a chiropractic adjustment? Or something that would address there's something wrong with their body physically that's irritating them, causing them pain. But some people with humans become so used to that pain, they forget how painful their body's in because they just end up being in denial of it. Did you know if you put, you might have done this at school, depends what school you went to. You know if you put a frog into a saucepan of hot water, it'll jump out. Do you realize that? Because it'll recognize that it's hot and it'll jump out. But you know if you put that same frog into a saucepan of cool water where it's comfortable, it won't jump out. But you put a Bunsen burner under that saucepan. Did you do this at school, anyone? Yes, this is what you do at school. It's cool. And see, some of you went to the wrong schools. So you got the Bunsen burner in the science lab, you got the saucepan of cool water, you throw the frog in, okay, and you start heating up the saucepan slowly. And slowly, the water slowly increases temperature, bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit. The frog will stay there and eventually boil to death. Do you realize that? For those who've done this experiment, it's true, isn't it? And the time you do it the 10th time, you think, friggin', we're running out of frogs, can't keep doing this. So then you try on bigger animals. Doesn't always work. So the point to the story is this. If we throw ourselves into the hot water straight away, like some of you, if you're in physical pain, if you're healthy and all of a sudden that pain that you're in was thrown into your body, no way could you handle this. But because it's been gradually building up like the frog, slowly the water's heating, it's not noticing the gradual change over month after month or year after year. And all of a sudden, your body's so used to it that you don't even realize how much pain you might be physically in or how it's affecting you. And you're in denial, I guess, or unaware of that. And that's going to affect your psychology. Who's ever noticed when you're feeling really sick that your thoughts are much more negative? Who's noticed that to be true? Because your vibration, your energy, your aura is weakened and you are having more negative thoughts. It's harder to be like that. So health is everything as far as becoming wealthy. It's keeping that right mental state physically where you're alive and enthusiastic, you have the energy and passion, and you think clearer. You're naturally more motivated and think much better. So if you're not feeling the right, I'm going to talk about this in a moment, emotional states, physiology is everything, and part of that is being healthy. Okay? We were going to have a health speaker speak with you this weekend to talk about that, but unfortunately he's sick, so he can't be here. But we do have a health home study. Okay, turn to the person next to you, just teach them what I've taught you in the last 38 minutes. Go for it quickly. Okay, team. Hands in the air. Stretch up nice and high. To the side, big moan. And the other side, big moan. And leaning back, big team moan. And forward, sexual moan. Some of you are like, what's that again? Is this making sense so far? So we're looking at the way that we can improve our life in a different way, is that we recognize in this session that 2/3 of the iceberg is underneath the water, and that 2/3 is your environment you're in on a consistent basis, on a day-to-day basis. So you can change everything else about your life, but if you don't change your environment, then it's unlikely long-term your life will change much. True? But the flip side of that, if you change your environment, then long-term your life can change significantly. Now that's if you want to change your environment. Now what do you mean by that, Jamie? Should I sack all my negative friends, dump all my poor ones, write them a letter and say, look, you're simply not rich enough to hang around me anymore? I've been Jamie McIntyre's seminar, he told me to tell you go shove it. It's not highly recommended, no. The point is just to become consciously aware of your surroundings and consciously aware of the way you live life. So what I started to do many years ago was consciously choose I spend my time around. So I'd gravitate more towards people that had strong values, that had a strong commitment to their future, had a sense of purpose, that were performing very well, producing results in their life, because one, I could learn off them, and two, they would hold me to a higher standard. So I'd gravitate more towards those people. I'd spend less time with other people that were maybe not serving me or negative or really didn't have my best interests at heart. Why hang around them? Okay? So I gravitated more towards that. I also changed where I didn't allow what other people said to really worry me. So if you want to become wealthy, you really want to jot this down, you need a thick skin. The biggest thing that stops most people from becoming successful is they're ruled by the committee called they. What they said or what they will say. Who gives a shit what they say anyhow? It means nothing. In other words, if you're going to be a leader and to become successful, that's what you're becoming, is a leader. Someone that's going to stand out amongst your circle of friends, your peer group. To become a leader is where you have to have a thick skin and not worry too much what other people say. Well, I was taught by my mentor, what other people think of you, Jamie, is none of your business. And he also said, most people don't think, so don't worry about it. And he was being smart, but actually there's a lot of truth in that. Most people, the book is called Think and Grow Rich. If we think we grow rich, most people don't actually take the time to really consciously think in their life. So what other people think of you is none of your business, because you don't control that, do you? Once again, it's like trying to rush off the aeroplane. You don't control getting off any quicker. You have to wait till the door opens. So anything that you don't control, let go of. So what other people think is none of your business, the sooner you can let go of that, the faster you'll move on. People that are least successful, they're worried about, oh, if I do this, I better check with everyone else and see if they think it's a good idea. If everyone else thinks it's a good idea, then I might do it. But how come everyone else isn't doing it? If it was this simple, everyone would do it. So they miss out on the opportunity. Why you have the opportunity in Australia and these countries to do exponentially greater than other people is the fact that most people won't do it. I used to get frustrated by that. Why isn't everyone doing it? And then I used to want to help everyone become wealthy. Then I changed my mind one day. I thought, you can't help someone who's not willing to help themselves. True? Who's ever tried that before? Frustrates the hell out of you, and what do you think it does to them? It annoys the hell out of them too. So I realized, you can't help everyone. All I'm interested in doing is helping people that are committed, that people that really want something, and if they're committed, then I can help those people. So that's why I changed and qualified with that. So in other words, I don't control other people, but I can just control what I do, and that's what you focus on. So today I've had to learn over the years, I don't worry what other people say, do, or think about you, because it's really irrelevant to you. As long as you know what you're doing is right, as long as you're committed to something that you believe in, then who cares what other people think? True? Yep. Because it doesn't have to have any effect. The average person is so worried what other people think of them. And they'll hold them back. Should I do this, or what will my brother-in-law think? Or should I do this, what will my mother-in-law think? Okay? Or should I do this, what will my friend think? And then they want to go and get a consensus. And if everyone in my circle of friends thinks it's a great idea, then I will do it. Well, if everyone else thought it was a great idea, they'd already be doing it. Okay? But average people, most people are average and performing and copying everyone else, so they're not going to outperform. The opportunity comes because most people won't do what I'm talking about. And instead of getting annoyed by that, you should get excited by that. That gives you the opportunity to earn exponential amount more than the average people in society. Is that fair enough? Now, let's just let's look at it this way. If you'd spent 6 years at university to become a neurosurgeon and build a neurosurgeon practice, and you're making $500,000 a year, can someone that quit school, never went to university and is a garbage collector, bitch and moan that they don't get paid enough, they're earning 50 grand a year and you're earning 500,000 a year? Can they say it's not fair? They could say that, but it's not. You wouldn't give them any credence, because it's like, no, this neurosurgeon's gone and developed this skill, spent all this time and money to get that skill, and is adding value to society that less people can do. Because your income, you want to jot this down as a quick lesson for you, your income in society is determined by how much value you add and how few other people can do what you do. Do you realize that? How much value you can add and how few other people can do what you do. So if you can develop a skill such as an investment skill, most people can't invest. They're paralyzed by fear. If you develop the ability to be a good investor, then you have a skill that you can monetize for a large amount of money, because so few people have it. You can add value, and it's a skill that most people don't have. Okay? A garbage collector. Who could qualify as a garbage collector in society? Everyone. It's a valuable skill, still adds value. Someone has to clean up the garbage, but anyone can do it. Therefore, it's divided amongst a large amount of people who can do it. That's why garbage collectors don't get paid as much as neurosurgeons. Make sense? And that's fair enough. That's the way the world works. By you committing to time, energy, and money in developing financial skills that other people could learn but aren't prepared to invest the time or money and effort to do, then you have a skill. And if you apply that skill, do you deserve to earn a disproportionate amount of money than the rest of the people in society? Yes or no? Yes. Absolutely. Okay? And that's just the way a free market economy is, and I think that's great. That's the way it should be. My simple rules is, if I want to make more money, I simply say to myself, Jamie, how do you add more value? If you want to make more money, you're going to add more value. So if you're not making as much money in your life as you like right now, I'm going to suggest to you that you're not adding enough value to society. How can you say that, Jamie? I just did. But think about that. Now, there is some exceptions to that. Some of you add a lot of value, but you work for the government. So you can be the best goddamn teacher in the country, and you won't get paid more than the worst teacher. True? And now they're trying to change that, and the government won't allow it. Okay? You could be the best nurse. You won't get paid. You're working for the government better than the worst nurse. Because that's the way the government, the idea, ideally everyone should be equal sort of idea. So outside, but in the private sector, you'll be paid. Look at someone like, I forget his name, he's a young guy, Australian, works in England. He was paid, he became famous because he left his employer and was offered a $250 million bonus and salary to stay, and he said no. His name's Coffey, I forget his name, someone might know. No, his last name's Coffey. Young guy anyhow. He's in the managed funds business. He was paid $250,000 bonus and salary to not leave his employer. And he said, no thanks, I'm leaving. Who here would reconsider, or at least can think about it a little bit longer? $250 million bonus and salary to stay with his employer. And he said, no thanks, walked away. Who would at least come back and consider it? $250 million, you know? Now, why is he in such demand? Because he is a very good investor. And he's investing the funds of a very large fund in the UK and in emerging markets, and he was so good at that they didn't want to lose him because he's adding so much value. You're making so much money for so many people, then the fund manager is going to pay him $250 million bonus not to leave. But he left and set up his own fund. And the guy's worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And he's only in his early 30s. Australian guy. Went to London, started at the bottom, worked his way up. But what he did was he developed a very good skill that few people have and adds a lot of value. And that's as a result why he gets paid, an immense amount of money. Who's following what I'm saying here? Now, there is some discrepancies. We look at Wall Street today and the credit crisis, and when that alignment is out where people are making obscene amounts of money but aren't adding value to society, then that leads to a crash because it's not sustainable behavior. It's not a sustainable pattern. And in Wall Street, you see that, where bankers, etc., are making obscene amount of money without adding value, and that will lead to a crash. Same thing happened in the roaring 1920s. Is it true? Everyone was making an absolute killing in the share market. Everyone was into it. But a lot of people then stopped working, they stopped adding value, stopped doing things in society, and excess, etc., and all come tumbling down. Because once it goes off the law, you must give, you must add value, you must contribute to society, and in return you get reward for that. If that gets out of whack, then it's not sustainable, is it? And then you'll have a crash. Making sense? So same thing with yourself. If you can build up and make a lot of it, you stop adding value to society, then that can cause a crash. And that happens to a lot of people. Making sense? So environment is critical to changing all that, and we'll talk about that more this weekend. But if I want to say, well, if you want to change some things in your life, change some things in your life. One of my friends, I was saying I said, look, just move out of your house. They had a negative anchor to this house. They lived into it for a long time, and some things had happened in their life, which was pretty tragic. But I said, look, you want a new start, just move. I said, you don't have to move to another city, just move a few streets, just move another suburb, but go rent, they're doing quite well for themselves, no mortgage on the house, financially they could do this. So I said, go and find a beautiful mansion on the Gold Coast and move in. I said, just change, just for 12 months, just lease it for 12 months, you don't have to buy it, don't have to buy anything, just lease a beautiful home for 12 months. Go live there. And I guarantee you'll change your life. And it took them so much to be able to make a decision. Oh, what about this? What about that? I said, just change. I said, if you want to change some things in your life, change something. Don't just stay in an environment that is not supporting you, that you have a negative anchor to, that you don't want to be there anymore. Move, because nothing is going to change until you change. So am I saying you should move suburbs on Monday, yes or no? No, wait till Tuesday. I'm not just saying you have to change suburbs, but I'm saying sometimes if you want a fresh start in life, create some fresh things in your life. Do something different. Because you have all this skill, but you keep on doing the same thing, the same environment, nothing's going to change as much. So it doesn't mean you have to dump your husband or dump your wife or, if your relationship's not working, I'm not saying change your relationship. I'm saying change you in the relationship. Does it make sense? You change. Because you can't control the other person. Most people focus all their energy on trying to change, trying to get off the plane too quick, trying to change the other person. Does that work? No. The fastest way to change the other person is, guess what? You change. Because you're in a cybernetic loop. By you changing, automatically can create change to the other person. Doesn't mean they'll necessarily change the way to the full extent you want, but you can't control that. You've got to be unattached to that. But you change, I guarantee you'll create a change.